Okay, now let's see how Django handles static files. So how it handles static files are like images. So we need to have a way where we can have our JavaScript or CSS and our images somewhere on a static file folder. So what we'll start by doing, we'll start by creating a new static file. So we'll just create a folder here on our main directory. So okay, we'll start by creating a new file, as I've said, on our root directory here. New folder, and we'll call it static. Enter. Let's just minimize this, and inside this static file we'll create inside the static folder we'll create a new file which will save us no, not a new file, sorry. We need a new folder that will hold our CSS. Close this. Here we need a new folder. It should hold our CSS. So you just call it CSS, enter. We create a new folder. We call it JS, that will hold our JavaScript. And we'll create a new one that will hold our images and call it images. Perfect. So perfect. So I want to make a couple of changes on our student.html. Just change a couple of things that will appear. Perfect. I've just changed the put program, gender, enrollment year, name, phone number, email address, completion year, according to how the data that I was given. I just wanted it to be perfectly the same. Save this. We can go to our port here. Look at students. And I've changed a couple of things here, but it's still the same as how it was. Okay, we have created these new folders here. So we'll go to CSS here and we'll create a new file which we will call main.css. Save this. Then you remember we had plastered our code into one and put a couple of things. Where is main HTML here? See this here? This is CSS code, and now we can just copy this, delete all this styling, because the styling sometimes becomes really big, and if we have it here, it will become a little bit hectic trying to change everything. And the best practice in code is to make sure everything is organized. So if you want to make any change, you go to a specific place. So we'll delete this and we'll paste it here on main.css, paste it here, save it. And if we come here and go to port, if we save this, yeah, it will return to what it was, and you can see there is no CSS here. It is not visible, but now we want our Django file here, this Django, to be able to relate this main.css to this main.html. And the first thing we want to do here is go to the settings.py. Settings.py, we'll find it here. So on the settings.py, when we go down here, we'll find this is where we do all our configurations. This is where we do all our configurations of our project so that it can read the CSS static folder. We can see here that there is already this static dash underscore URL that relates to this static folder. But what we want to do here now is just create a new variable. So as you can see, by default there's this one, but now we want to create a new variable which we will call static file. No, let's call it static files underscore dir as, so dir's basically directories, which will be equal to as a list. So this list, what it will have inside will be a path, which let's just call write it. Let me write this very fast. So you write os.path. Let me just write it in small letters. os.path.join, into brackets we will write base dir, then we'll name put the name of our folder here, which is static. Okay, so you can see this base.dir, we can see it here. So build inside path, blah blah blah, with showing the how to do it, and so it's not coming out of nowhere. So the base.dir, or the base directory, being the static folder. So let's save this, and now what we want to do is basically to import these static files to our template. Okay, so since we have done that, we need to go to our main.html. Now what we want to do here is now create a link to our static file, so that it can have a link to the static file, so that our CSS can come back to here, so it doesn't look this plain, looks at like what it was before. Okay, like for any other CSS, we'll create a link. You can see a link here. For example, this is a link that associates with a CSS file here, but it's in Bootstrap. That's what is giving us giving our site a little bit of styling without us having to do the styling, because it's a Bootstrap, and the Bootstrap they have their own CSS linked to a certain website. Here you can see HTTP. So we create a link here, and in here we want to have, inside here we want to have a link to our CSS, from the static folder to the CSS folder to our main CSS. And how we do that, we first of all have to start by loading up a tag. We load a tag here. I will not talk a lot about this, but we can have a talk about it later on. So we'll create a tag here. Inside this tag, we'll put load static, so that our Django file, or the Django itself, will know that we are working with a static file inside our main.html. After doing that, we'll come here to our reference point. So this is where we should put a link, and inside here we'll put a link in the Django way, how then it will look like this. So we tell it to go to the static file. Okay, go to the static folder, and then inside the static folder we want it, inside this static folder we want it to go to the CSS file folder, CSS folder. Inside the CSS folder, it will go to the main.css. So it goes to our static folder here, goes inside the CSS folder and links the main.css. I'll save this, go back here, refresh. Okay, we have a problem. So let's see where the problem might be. Let's go to our command prompt. There's OS is not defined. Okay, go to our settings. Let's just save this. main.html, save this. Cancel here, save this. Come here. We've seen our server is not running, so just run it again. And there's a problem here. It's talking about the OS path.join. This line in our settings.py has a problem because the OS is not defined. Okay, for OS is not defined, let's go back to our code, check settings.py. OS is here, so it's supposed to be imported. Okay, let's make sure let's just import OS, save this, go back here, run our server again. Okay, it's working. Come here, refresh this, boom, it works perfectly. So we can see this working, total students, total courses, and it has changed that good color, and at least now it looks better. Okay, go back to our code. So what we want to do next, work on the image. Adding an image, just by adding an image, I mean just let's add a logo, and that logo will just come and rest here. The images work similarly as the one that we have worked on right now. Yeah, images are very similar to the CSS that you have worked with. So let me first get an image, the logo for Safra, and we'll use that. Okay, our logo is here. This is the Safra logo, transparent background. Let me just rename it to Safra logo. Enter. And now we have to look for the image folder here. Then static images, and then we'll paste it here. Okay, now we have it there. And we can see our image here, Safra logo.png. Now what we want to do is come to settings here. Let me just layout, single. Let me just close some of these things, becoming too much. Main CSS, we are done with this. Creation, we are done with this. Dashboard, we are done with this. Views.py, let's close this too. Yeah, looks a little bit better. Now we go to the settings .py here and configure something else. What we need to add here is media.url underscore URL, where all our media will be found, videos, images, and we do that. Just write images here, enter images. Perfect. You have to close this out. Okay, so this is where it will find our media files, our images and videos. Then what we need to do is go to our navbar. We go to our navbar. Where was it? Over here, and we need to remove this, put in an image tag, and then we need to find the source. Our source will work like the other one. We have to put in a load static here. Load static, so that knows we are dealing with a static folder. Then here we'll just do the same as we did with the CSS file. %, perfect. Then we'll just have, it will enter into the static folder. Then inside the static folder, we want it to go to images, then Safra logo.png. I think that's what it's called. Inside Safra logo.png, I've written it perfectly. Save this. Go back to our folder here, refresh, and it's extremely big, but we have it there on top. So it seems like it has loaded the static. Save this. Okay, everything is fine apart from this being too big. Okay, it's extremely big. What we'll do here is we'll add a style, and in this style we'll specify the size. So it add a width. Let's call it. Let's have the width being 70 pixels. It'd be 70 pixels, semicolon. Then you'll have the height. Let it also be 70 pixels. We save this. Go back here. Refresh. Now it's more manageable. Another way we can do this is by going to our folder here where we have our Safra image. Sorry, where is it? Images here. Create a copy of this here. Edit this photo. Edit this photo. Sorry. Can edit it. Make sure it does not occupy that much space. Just a second. Just using an very basic editor here. Crop this. Save. Then we can use this. But now when you use this editor, it leaves a white background there. So if we were to use this here and with the dimensions, it will look a little bit weird. Just copy this again, copy. And because we have changed the dimensions here, it will look a little bit weird. Sorry. .png, save. You can see it has come here. We can just Look at the details here. Properties, details, 421 by 160. Then we can have percentages of this. So it can be 210, 80. If we divide this by 2, select 210, 80. Then divide it by 2 again, 105, 40. We can just have 210, 80. 210, 80. 80, save this. Refresh this. Kind of looks a little bit better. We can just divide this by 2. This is more of a mathematical thing. We can have 105, 40, save this, refresh this. Looks better. Then what we can do with this is let's just come here and just get rid of this, remove background. We want it to have no background, so we can use this site, remove.bg, put this inside here. It has removed the background. Download that, take this, put it here. We'll copy this name, delete this, use that name here, enter, save, come here, refresh, and you can see it has no background. It looks a little bit better. That's just a way I've used to make this look a little bit better. If you want to make it smaller, if you think this is too big but it looks nice, you can just divide this by a similar ratio. You can divide it by or multiply it by 2/3, by 2/3 here, by 2/3 here. Whatever you get, use those as your dimensions, then it will become what you need. Okay, so this looks fine for me. Save this, refresh. It looks, we have our logo here. It looks way better than just having navbar written there. Okay, let us proceed. Yeah, if this is very important, because if we remove this, if we delete this, save this, try to refresh this, it will say line 4 static, did you forget to register or load this tag? And that's a way of Python asking you, are you sure this is supposed to be there? It's trying to load this static, it's not able to load, but when you return it, save it, return there, it's working perfectly. Okay, let us move on to the next one. We have learned how to do this, load the static, how to have the static folder, put the CSS inside there, all the JS, and how to load our images. And it looks really nice. It's shaping up to become to look a little bit better. Okay, hope this was informative. Thank you for watching. Let's see in the next one where we discuss about how we're going now to put in our database, so that we can see how we can now enter data to these spaces that we have created, all the spaces that we have created, how we'll enter data, how we'll have our database controlling the data that's coming in here. Okay, thank you.